Okay. Then second, gradient of line. Y2 minus Y1 over X2 minus X1. 3, midpoint of 2 points. X1 plus X2 over 2. Y1 plus Y2 over 2. Okay, so a midpoint, there are only a few users. One is to find last point of parallelogram. Sometimes to find perpendicular bisector. Okay, so typically we use midpoint for these two. Okay. You will not use the length formula in AMAth that much. Okay, fourth thing, you need to know how to form the equation of line. Okay, to form equation of line, what are the two things you need? First, you need the gradient. Secondly, you need a point on the line. Okay, so these are the two things you need. You will put into your y, put into your m, put into your x to find your, you need to put here, put here, put here, find your c. Okay. Next, I think last but not least, we also have your area of any enclosed figure. We have half x1, y1, x2, y2. You just continue. Then remember to end with x1, y1. Okay, so these are the few things that we use when we try to find, we do the coordinate geometry questions in AMAth. Okay.
Mr. Crowes.
Okay, yeah. So now let's take a look at some questions. Okay, so question 30 is actually talking about the intersection of the line and the curve. So for you to find the intersection, what do? You just solve them simultaneously, you will do. Okay, can you go and try to solve them simultaneously yourself? bye. That's it. Bye. Okay, so quite obvious that you need to use substitution. Then it is better for us to start from this equation and do substitution into this equation based on what we have. So x minus y equals to 3. So x is just equals to y plus 3. So this is your equation 1. Then x squared minus 3xy plus y squared plus 19 equals to 0 will be your equation 2. So sub equation 1 into equation 2. Okay, please do not get your algebra wrong. Okay, the first part is just y plus 3 times y plus 3. If you're not sure, please write it out. Don't be lazy. So when you expand this, you should get y plus 3y plus 3y plus 9. This one, if you need to do step by step, you also do step by step. Do not skip step like what I do. Okay, so when you add them up, you get negative y squared minus 3y plus 28 equals to 0. So you times negative 1, then you factorize. So from here, we know y equals to negative 7 or y equals to 4. So sub into equation 1. X will be equals to negative 4 or x equals to 7. Okay, so we have to see that the question asks for coordinate of P and Q lah. So they never specifically say which is which. So you can just anyhow write, say P is negative 4, comma, negative 7. Then Q is 7, comma, 4. Yeah. Okay, next question. Okay, so in the AMF part, not only do you need to know all the formulas, you need to know a bit of your shapes. Okay, what do I mean? You need to know that parallelogram, the midpoint of these two is the same as midpoint of these two. Okay, then rhombus, we need to know that the midpoint of these two is equals to the midpoint of these two. What else in rhombus that you need to know? The diagonal intersect at 90 degree. Okay, next, we have your kite. Okay, for a kite, what we need to know, this length is equal to this length is equal to this length. They intersect here at 90 degree. This length is equal to this length. Okay, so not only do we need to know the formulas and all this, we need to know the relationship between your shapes. This is parallelogram, rhombus, and kite. Okay, I don't want to mention about rectangle and square. That one you should know. Okay, so try A, B, C, D yourself. These are very, very technical thing that you must know. Okay, so to find the equation of AC, the first thing we need to know is we need to know the gradient of AC. Y2 minus Y1 over X2 minus X1. You get 6 over negative 8, negative 3/4. Okay, for those who can see, you can actually see the y-intercept is 0, 1. You can straight away write down the equation of AC already. But for those who are still not very good at it, what you do, you just put in your y, put in your m, put in your x to find your c lah. So in this case, my y I put 1, the x I put 0, the m I put negative 3/4, and then the c. So c is just equals to 1. So therefore the equation is just y equals to negative 3/4 x plus. Those who can see, you don't need to do this step. This step can skip. Okay, but if you cannot see, please do it. Don't be stingy with your steps if you are not very good. Okay, for part 2, a guide for you, because this is a kite, we will know that they are perpendicular. Okay, so try. Okay, so B. So since AC is perpendicular to BD, we know the gradient of AC is negative 3/4. So since BD is perpendicular to AC, why we know it's perpendicular? Because it's a kite, comma, we know that the gradient of BD is just flip it around times a negative. So negative 3/4 you flip around times negative become 4/3. Basically the product of these two gradient must give you negative 1. So one of the easier ways is to just flip it then times a negative will do. Okay, so now I have the gradient of BD. I need to put in a point. So equation of BD, I put in the y, I put the coordinate negative 2, 0. So C equals to 8/3. So our equation of BD is just y equals to 4/3x plus 8/3. You find the intersection of the diagonal. Find the multiply. Wow. Okay, part C. How do we find part C? Let me guide you before you try. So, to find B, the first thing we think is to use these two lines. Whether can we use these two lines solve the intersection and get B? But it seems like we do not have the equation of AB or BC. We cannot find because we also cannot find the gradient of AB and BC. So this way of using these two lines and then solve simultaneously is what you should think of first. Okay, so this doesn't work. So what do we think of next is we use the AC and BD. Okay, so questions actually guide you. There's a reason why they ask you to find AC and BD first. So what you should do is you should find this point first, call your x. Okay? Because this is a kite, we know that x is the midpoint of BD. So what I need you to do, find the coordinate of x first, then later use midpoint to go and find your coordinate of B. Okay? Try. Okay, so let me continue now. So to find the point x, I would write y equals to negative 3/4 x plus 1 be my equation 1. Y equals to 4/3x plus 8/3 be my equation 2. So sub 1 into 2 or sub 2 into 1 doesn't make any difference. So you have negative 3/4 x plus 1 equals to 4/3x plus 8/3. Put them together, we have negative 25 over 12x equals to minus 15/3. So x will be equals to negative 4/5. Okay, then sub x into equation 1 or equation 2 doesn't make any difference. Three over 5 plus 1, 8/5. So we know that point x has the coordinate negative 4/5, 8/5. Do check from the diagram, see whether it makes sense or not. Okay, so x is negative, then y is positive. Okay, makes sense. So now I got x already. We let coordinate b be xy. And you use your midpoint formula. The midpoint of AB will be BD will be negative 2 plus x over 2, y plus 0/2. The midpoint of BD will be equals to your x. Okay, so now you take them out and solve separately. Negative 10 plus 5x. 5x equals to 2. X equals to 2/5. And y/2 equals to 8/5. Y is just equals to 16/5. So our coordinate of B will be 2, 5, 16/5. Okay, for the last part, we must also know, last part, if you really cannot find B, doesn't mean you cannot find the area. You can still find this area. Just use this 3 point. You can just still use ADC then later times 2. So sometimes you must think on the spot whether you can solve the question without certain information. So most of you actually, if you cannot find part B, then I think you will give up on part D. But that is not the case and shouldn't be the case, because it still can be done because no. It still can be done because yeah. I got no space below, so I do on top here. Okay, a bit messy, but I do on top here. So part D, to find the area, I can just use ADC, which is actually safer, because it is something that is given to you and the number are nicer. So you can actually say 2 times Then your shoelace method, half, -8, 7, -2, 0, 0, 1, -8, 7. Go to in the anti-clockwise direction will be more helpful because that will the 2 times half become nothing, so they will cancel away each other. You go in the anti-clockwise direction, it will give you a positive answer lah. So down, -8 times 0, -2 times 1, 0 times 7. Then after that, minus away all the going up. 7 times -2, 0 times 0, 1 times -8, -8. Okay, so if you calculate this will be 20 units squared. Okay, you can see that if I don't use B, then actually I got no fraction involved. Then everything will be nice. Easier to calculate also. So do think before you give up on the question, okay? Just because you cannot do that doesn't mean you cannot do the next step. Any question? Can I move on to the next part? Okay, I move on to circles already. So what do you need to know in circles? You need to know that this is the most important form of a circle. Why this is an important form? Because this will tell me that the center of the circle is A, B, and the radius is R. Okay, more often than not, question may give you something like that. Okay, then they will ask you what is the center and what is the radius. So how do you change from this form to this form? I forget which one. One is called the general form, one is called the standard form. But what I do is always use this. Why? Because this form cannot give you any idea of what the center is, what the radius is. Okay, and how do you change this form into that form? We do completing the square. So I say completing the square is very important. You use it in a lot of areas. So first thing we complete these two, it become x plus 2 square minus 2 square. We complete these two now. It become y minus 5 square minus 5 square. Okay, so after that you just throw all the number to the other side. 29, 45. So from here we can see that the center is actually -2, 5. And then the radius is square root 45. Okay, so this is the first part of your circles. Actually, circle got a lot of hidden thing that you need to know. It's very hidden one. Okay. Second thing that I can only tell you that you need to know about circle is that always come out is the perpendicular bisector. Let's say I got 3 point, 1 point, 2 point, 3 point. How do I find the center of the circle? Of course, in this chapter, you may also use your property of circle. So what you need to know is any 2 point joins together is called a chord. Okay, the perpendicular bisector of any chord the perpendicular bisector of any chord will always pass through the center of the circle. So you can see this is another chord. The perpendicular bisector will pass through the center of another circle. So in order to find the center of the circle, it is just the intersection of your two dotted lines. So when you solve them simultaneously, you will get this center. Then with the center, you just need to use your length formula to calculate your radius. Okay, one more thing that I can talk to you about is actually called the reflection. Okay, so if I reflect about y-axis, you must know that when you reflect about y-axis, right, or you reflect about x-axis, the radius of the circle does not change. Okay, the center, let's say this is the center AB. When you reflect, this distance is equal to this distance. So if this happens, you can see that the y coordinate never change. The thing that only change is the x coordinate, and the x coordinate will become negative a. So you just need to find out what is the new center. You don't need to bother to draw the circle and try to see how the reflection look like. Just focus on the center will do. Why? Because the radius remains unchanged. Okay. Of course, the next one is reflect about the x-axis. When this happens, you can see that this point, the distance here is the same as the distance here. So this point here, the x coordinate never change, but the y coordinate will be reflected and become negative. So this is how you find the new center. Okay, so reflection, don't try to go and see the figure, try to see the circle. Don't need. Just focus on your center. Huh? Okay, copy down. Okay, after you are done, go and try the questions. Okay, so since the center is 4, 2 and the radius is square root 13, sure we know that we can write as x minus 4 square plus y minus 2 square equals to square root 13 square, which is just 13. Hey, how do you tell whether a point is inside or outside a circle? What you need to do is you just need to, this is 8, 3. We don't know, no, this is not 8, 3, this is 4, 2. Okay, then you have a point 8, 3. So how do we know 8, 3 is inside or outside the circle? How do we know where is 8, 3? Okay, what you need to do, you just find the distance. Find the distance of these two. We know that the radius of the circle is square root 13. So if the distance is less than square root 13, means it's inside the circle lah. If the distance is more than square root 13, means it's outside the circle. So can you use your distance formula to find the length of the 2 points? Then from there, you will be able to determine whether is it inside or outside the circle. Okay, so B. So the length is just equals to square root 8 minus 4 square plus 3 minus 2 square. You will get square root 17. Since square root 17 is more than square root 13, gate 3 is outside the circle. Okay, C1 intersect x and y. So if you intersect as x-axis, intersect as x-axis means what? The y value is 0. So just let y be 0. You let y be 0 of this equation. Okay, so x minus 4 square plus 4 equal to 13. You can solve like that. If you're not comfortable with solving like that, you can expand the whole thing and solve. So x minus 4 equals to 3 or minus 3. X equals to 7 or what? So the coordinate of P will be 7, 0. The coordinate of Q will be 1, 0. Find the midpoint of PQ. So midpoint is just add them and divide by 2. 7 plus 1 over 2. 0 plus 0 over 2. We get 4, 0. Okay, so part A. So show that D is the diameter. So you must ask yourself question. If DE is the diameter, what will happen? You see, if DE is the diameter, these three will form a triangle. And then based on your right angle in semicircle property says what? This one will be 90 degree. So now you just need to show me that that angle is 90 degree. You can safely say that DE is the diameter. Okay, go ahead and show that that angle is 90 degree. Okay, to show that it is perpendicular, we just need to find the gradient. So gradient of FD we get 1/4. Then we find gradient of FE. We get -4. Okay, since gradient of FD times gradient of FE equals -1, we say that FE is perpendicular to FD. Then you say by right angle in semicircle property, comma, DE is the diameter. Okay, you must put in the property name. And if DE is the diameter, how to find the center? The midpoint of DE will be the center of the circle. So we find the midpoint of DE. Four comma minus what? Okay, part B, how to find the equation of the circle. To find the equation of circle, you just need to find the radius. Okay, you have the radius, you have the center, you can form your equation. Okay, so now we find the radius. The radius is just, you can use the center and E, or you use the center and D. Okay, so 7 minus 4 square plus 4 plus 1 square. So this will give me square root 934. So the equation of the circle will be x minus 4 square plus y plus 1 square equals to 34. Okay, to find the reflection of C2 about the line x equals to -2, we just need to look at the center and the line. So x equals to -2 is this line. What is the center of our circle? Our center of the circle is 4, comma, -1. Then you see when you reflect, what is your new center? Okay. This distance equal to this distance. Once you have your new center, the radius remains unchanged. You will be able to form your new equation. Okay, so for those who can't see, this length is 6 units. 4 to minus 2 is 6, so this has to be 6. So if this is 6, then the x coordinate will become minus 8. The y coordinate will remain the same. So what did they ask? Find the equation of C2. So equation of C2, x plus 8 square plus y plus 1 square equals to 34. Okay, D, explain why this only lie within one circle. To find whether it lie within one circle, again, you go back to the distance of the center and that point. See whether is it more than the radius. Think length of the first one. We are comparing -8, -1, and 3, 4. Okay, so it is outside the circle because as we can see, it is bigger than the radius. This is outside C2. Okay, so now we test with C1. Okay, C1, what are we testing? We are testing -8, -1 with 4, -1. Why both is outside? Funny why both outside? Yeah, do wrongly. Not 8, 1, sorry, 3, 4. Square root 26. Okay, so these are very, very technical questions that I have chose to let you understand a bit about the topic. Yeah. Okay, so these are very, very basic things that you really need to know. Oh, more in-depth one, we have to still do. Not really sufficient yet. Okay, so next part will be your linear law already. Okay, so let's move on to the next part, your linear law. So linear law, there's two type of question. One require you to draw a graph. The other one will give you a graph and typically ask you to find certain values from the graph. Okay. So what linear law is about? So what linear law is about? Linear law is like originally you have y equals to x squared. Today, if you plot y equals to x squared, if your axis is x and y, when you go and plot, you will get a curve. Okay? However, if you change your axis to x squared and y, then you can see that this equation is actually y equal to mx plus c. Then what you will get is you will get a straight line. So this is how linear law changes and a curve into a straight line, just playing with the axis. Okay, so this is the whole idea of the whole chapter lah. How you play with the axis to get a straight line. The equation is the same equation, it's just that we see it differently. Okay, so we must understand that every point on the graph here represent x squared comma y. The coordinate here is your x comma y. For example, if you have a table and if you plot, okay, for this one you're plotting x and y. So when x is 1, y is 1. When x is 2, y is 4. When x is 3, y is 9. Okay, for this one, when we plot, what are we plotting? We are plotting x squared and y. So if x squared is 0, y is 0. When x squared is 1, y is 1. Because the equation is y equals to x squared, y, still the same thing. So when x squared is 0, the y is 0. So when you plot like that, that is how we get the straight line. Okay. So the whole chapter, the first thing you need to know whenever you do this chapter is to identify what axis to use. Okay. So let's take a look at the first kind of question. So 34, a study was performed to assess is known plot. So first thing they have to plot ln y against t. So when I ask you to plot ln y against t, what do you need to do? You draw your table. T, this is ln y. What you need to do, t remains the same. Go and calculate your value of ln y. Okay, go and calculate the value of your ln y. How many decimals should you leave? As much as possible first, maybe 3 to 4 decimal. Because we will not know the scale that we are using. Unless you can see next page. We can see the scale. You can read until half a small square. So this is 8.1. This is 8.02. Means today we can read until 0.01. So you should leave until 2 decimal places. Okay, the smallest we can read is only 2 decimal places. So just leave the 2 decimal places will be sufficient. So 6.93 ln 7.20 ln 7.47 7.76. Okay, so with this, go ahead and plot your points, then connect. You should get a straight line. If you don't get a straight line, then something is wrong with the values, or you have plotted the point wrongly.
The last one, isn't it 8.04?
What? Who's talking?
Last number, isn't it 8.04?
Oh, is it? Why did I get that?
I don't know.
Oh, I pressed long 10. I should press long 3104. Why did I press long 10? 8.04. Oh, thank you. Then, yeah, plot the points. 6.9 is here. 6.92, 6.93, 4, 7.2. Six, 7.47, 7.42, 46, 47. 8 is 7.76. 10 is 8.04. Okay, connect them. Where's my ruler? Okay, so what is important is the x-intercept and the y-intercept lah. So this is the line. So next thing, use your graph to find the value of A and B. So you can see that this equation will give you that line. However, this equation is not in the form of. Now you need to change your equation into this form. Ln y equal to a number multiplied by t plus another number. This number here is your gradient. This number here is your y-intercept. So you can see that this equation here is not that form yet. So we need to change into this form. Okay, so what do we do? First thing first, we ln both sides because we see that there's a ln y. Then what do we do next? We have to use your law of logarithm to break it up. So this becomes like that. So we just rewrite a bit. You can see that this is 1/4 ln B bracket T plus ln A. So this tells us that this is my gradient. This is my y-intercept. So can you use your graph and find the gradient and find the y-intercept, then later on solve for your A and B yourself? Okay. Okay, so we choose 2 points. Try to choose other. Yeah, so start with your y-intercept. Your y-intercept here is 6.66. So if the y-intercept is 6.66, I will know that ln A equals to 6.66. Then to find A is just e power 6.66. So 780.55, approximately 781. Okay, now to find gradient, choose 2 points. Try to choose points that you have not plotted lah. So this one is 9.6, and then 8. Then this point 5.4, comma 7.4. So gradient equals to 8 minus 7.4 over 9.6 minus 5.4. This one you don't need to bother to leave in fraction or anything, because anyway when we draw graph nothing is accurate already. So we know 1/4 ln B is equals to this. Don't copy my number. My number will not be the same as yours. Okay, so times 4, you get 0.57142. Then B is just e power this. You should get around 1.77. Then you have extend with you have to copy. You need to extend to see what is your y-intercept. Your y-intercept is what? You are just copying blindly, you know. You have to use your own graph to find your gradient, to find your y-intercept. You use my one for what? All the point should be your point, not my point. Your value should be close to mine. Please, you should not be using my value. You should use your own graph value. Please don't use mine. Your answer may not be the same as mine. Okay, part C. Use your graph to estimate the number of weeks needed for the ends to double. So how do we do part D? So what do? We find the initial number of ends first. So the initial number of ends is when t is 0. So when t is 0, our ln y is equals to 6.66. So our y is equals to 780.55. So this is the initial number of ends. So the question says find using your graph when the ends population is double, right? So double of our end population will be what? Double the population will just be equals to 780.55 times 2. That will give me 1561. Okay. Remember to read from the graph, we cannot read 1561. We need to go and ln 1561. So we read from ln 1561. Ln 1561 is 7.353. So we read from 7.35. 7.35. Where's 7.35? 7.35. So we read from 7.35. We get 5 exactly. Okay, so when y is 7.35, t is equal to 5. So that means it's going to take 5 weeks. Okay, you cannot just take 6.66 times 2. Remember, your population is y, not ln y. So y times 2, so you have to find y first. Okay, next part. Explain why this model cannot be used 5 years from the start of the experiment. Why? Okay, so we must understand that the units of t is in weeks. So t is in weeks. So 5 years is equal to how many weeks? 1 year should have 52 weeks. Is 260 weeks. Then Why? Because you can see the equation is y equals to ab power t. So as t become very large, b power t will goes to very large also. How, huh? Shouldn't explain like that. Okay lah. Okay, so the proper way of saying is the data provided is such that t is between 0 to 10. Any t value out of the range is considered extrapolation. That means you are using something that is not in your data. So the estimate will be unreliable. Okay, one good example, I can tell you what is extrapolation. For example, you you do an experiment, then let's say it takes you 5 minutes to boil the water. Let's say the temperature of the water is 50 degrees Celsius after you heat up for 10 minutes. Then later you take another 10 minutes, so 20 minutes you heat up to 100 degrees Celsius. Then can you say that 30 minutes it will go until 150 degrees Celsius? Cannot, right? Because water boiling point is 100 degrees Celsius. So extrapolation means you are using some data that is outside what you have experimented or you have seen in a survey to do estimation. So it becomes unreliable because we will not know what happened after that. Don't worry too much. This is more of statistics. Okay. So not very common that they will ask, so don't need to put your emphasis there. Oh, okay, if you are done, please try question 35. Okay, so what you need to do for question 35 is to find, before you can find your A and B, you must understand A and B is what coordinate. This is your y is 0. You need to find what is the value of y. This is when this is 0, you need to find the value of this. This is your y. This is your x bracket 1 minus y, okay? You must make sure this is not your xy, because your axis has changed already. It's not your x, not your y. This is not x, this is not y. This is your y, this is your this, because your axis has changed to that already. Okay, so what you need to do is you need to start with this equation. Then you do your working, arrange, do your algebra. In the end, you get this. This equals to a number times y plus another number. Okay, so shift the equation until you manage to get that. Okay, so how do we do that? First thing, you cross multiply. So you can see the x are all on this side. So you should expand and bring all the x there. So the x put here, the x bring here, then the y bring here, the 8 put here. So you can see we are getting closer. So what you do next, you factorize 2x. I think we factorize negative 2x. Why I factorize negative 2x? So that I get minus y plus 1. Okay, what do I do next? You see I want x, so I divide by negative 2. So I divide by negative 2. This will become half y minus 4. So you can see after I done that, then I get what we want. So now how to find the coordinate of A? Coordinate of A is when y equals to 0. I want to find this. So this equals to negative 4. So the coordinate of A is 0, comma, negative 4. How to find the coordinate of B? To find the coordinate of B is when this. Okay, so you can see this is actually your big Y. This is so-called your big Y. This is now your big X. Okay, so when X bracket negative, because this is the X intercept, so the big Y is 0. So 0 equals to half Y minus 4. So half Y equals to 4. Y equals to 8. So therefore the coordinate of B is 8, comma 0. Okay, so this is a bit confusing because your X is actually not your X. Your Y is actually not your Y. Next, how to find your tangent theta? Tangent theta need to use your tua castle to find. So actually not that difficult. Okay, try to find your tangent theta yourself. You know this is 8. You know this is minus 4. So you can have this length. You can have this length. You can find this theta. Okay, part B. So tangent theta is just equals to opposite over adjacent. So it's just half. So tangent theta equals. They never ask you to find theta. So please don't go and tangent inverse and find the angle. They are just asking you what is tangent theta. Okay, since we still have time, I want to do a bit more. I want to do the. I want to do. I want to do trigonometry also. Okay, any questions so far until now? Any mistake, please sound out. I may make mistake one. Okay, so let's start with trigonometry lah. So first, trigonometry is a super big part. So I can only go through a little bit. So the first part of trigonometry is your uh quadrants and basic angle. So you must know that what is basic angle. So whenever you solve an equation, sine theta equals to, let's say, 0.1. Okay, so in A math, typically we will tell you that what is the theta value. So they tell you theta is between typically 0 to 2 pi. So you must remember that in A math, when you do your inverse, you are not finding your theta, you are finding your basic angle. Okay, when you are doing inverse, you are finding your basic angle. And remember, when you find your basic angle, do not put the sign inside, okay? Then it's in radian, we better do it in radian. Okay, so normally trigonometry is in radian one. So don't use 0.1, 0.1 is not a nice number, 0.7. Okay, I get 0.77539. This is my basic angle in radian. Okay, then you must know that, oh, since this is positive 7, so is in theta is in first and second quadrant. So how I know first and second quadrant? You have your ASTC. So because it's sine, so it's these two. Okay, then now how does basic angle look like in your diagram? This is your basic angle. Then where is your theta? Your theta is this and this. So to find theta, so you can see the first quadrant, the theta equals to alpha, we get 775. Then second quadrant will be what? Pi minus 0.77539. We get 2.37 radian. So this is how you solve a trigo equation. So basic angle and quadrant, something that you must remember. Okay, next we have what? We have our special angle. Went through this a bit in your certs and all this. So we know that your special angle is your sine 30 degree, or in AMF we also use pi over 6. This is equals to half sine 60, which is equals to sine pi over 3, which is square root 3 over 2. Then we have sine 45, which is sine pi over 4. They give me 1 over square root 2. I also have my cosine 30, which is cosine pi over 6, which gives me square root 3 over 2. Cosine 60 equals to cosine pi over 3, which is half. And then cosine 45, which is 1 over square root 2. Of course, we also have our tangent 30, which is tangent pi over 6. Please do not remember all this, or you try to find using your calculator. For those who have remember, well done, but if you have other more important thing to memorize, this is not the important thing that you should memorize first. Okay, all these are degree. Okay, so these are your special angle. Then of course, you have your identity. What are your identity? Your first set involve your square. So whenever you see square, you must think of these three identity. Yeah, don't write this one. Write this one first. Okay, so for this one, these two more important. Okay, and then you will have your special and you have your double angle. Okay, for cosine 2 theta, there is two. There's three actually, but normally we use these two. Okay, and of course, finally, you have your addition formula. Addition. Okay, this addition formula is more special because you always have your plus and minus that you can see. You can see a bracket, cosine plus and minus, and tangent plus and minus. So you say you don't need to remember the formula. I think you still need to remember a bit. If you totally don't know your formula, then it's very difficult to relate to yourself when to use because yeah, you just can't see how they are linked together. Okay, so this is sine, cos, plus minus cosine. This is cos sine sine. Okay, for cos, remember the symbol is upside down. For this, is opposite. Then tangent is tangent A plus minus tangent B over. Okay, over here is also opposite tangent A, tangent B. Okay, and of course you have your R formula and then your yeah, I write R formula here. R formula. So R formula, your R is equals to square root A square plus B square. Your alpha is equals to tangent inverse B over A. Okay, B and A are the coefficient of your trigo. Later we will see lah. Uh, that's about it. And then you got your trigo graph. So this is just a very, very vague summary of what are the things that you need to be aware, the tools that you have. So if you don't even know what tools you have, then you will not be able to use the tools to solve the questions. Okay? So you can copy, you can don't copy down because most of the formula is still got one formula that you need to know. Uh-huh. Very important one, sine theta, tangent theta equals to sine over cosine. This one not given to you, you must know. Okay, if not, go and try some questions. Try the first question first. We'll come to it soon. Okay, so let's take a look how we apply. Okay, now we see how we apply all the thing now, huh? More importantly is the applying it. Okay, first thing first, we want to prove this identity, huh? First thing I want to talk about is the structure of this thing. That is what you should be more concerned about rather than keep thinking of using your identity. We first talk about the structure. How many terms are there over here? There are two terms. How many terms are there over here? Only one term. So you can see structurally they are different already. So it's just like when you do primary school math, imagine one is mixed fraction, one is improper fraction. You can never show that they are the same thing. So we must first structurally make sure that they are actually the same thing. Or maybe one is a fraction, one is a ratio. Then you can never compare them because structurally they are different. Okay, so what we need to do is we should always combine the two terms into one term. So the only way to combine your two terms into one term is to make the denominator the same first. Then you combine them into one single fraction. Okay, so try make the denominator the same, combine them into one single fraction first. Then you are actually moving one step closer to the answer because after you combine them, it is just one big fractional term only. Okay? Okay, so if you combine them together, you should have cosine x times cosecant x plus cosine x plus cosine x cosecant x minus cosine x over cosecant x minus 1 times cosecant x plus 1. So on top, if you simplify, you'll see that the cosine and cosine will subtract. You get 2 cosine x cosecant x. Below, if you expand, this is a minus b, a plus b, so you get a square minus b square. Okay, then now how? If you are stuck, then take a look at here. Sine tangent is actually sine x over cosine x. So you can see this is actually what you want to achieve. Then you can see the 2 is here, the 2 is here already. Quite helpful already. Okay, then what you should do next is you can see that cosecant is actually 1 over sine. Okay, then you can see this is the square. Then you have to check cosecant square and 1. Which identity can I use? So we know that cotangent square x plus 1 is equals to cosecant square x. Cotangent square x will be equal to cosecant square x minus 1. So why would I think of cotangent also? Because it is tangent mah. So cotangent and tangent is related what. So if I change it to cotangent square, I'm moving one step closer to what they want. Then you can see this is actually 2 times cosine x over sine x. And what is cosine x over sine x? Cosine x over sine x is just cotangent x. So the cotangent x and the cotangent square can cancel. You get 2 divided by cotangent x. 2 divided by cotangent x is like 2 divided by 1 over tangent x. Then divide how to change to time become 2 times tangent x. That's how you get your 2 tangent x. Okay, so you tell me lah, if you say you don't remember your special identity, then how can you easily link these two together? It's not natural to you already if you don't remember your identity. The formula sheet is there. I think it's just to confirm that your memory is correct, but you have to know that it is like that. Okay, so proving is a very typical kind of question that you will see. The next kind of question that you will see in your trigo is your solving of equation. So how to solve equation? So what we need to achieve in order to solve an equation, what you need to achieve is you need to get sine x equal to a number or cosine x equal to a number or tangent x equals to a number. Then you can start pressing your calculator to find your basic angle and all this. So you must understand that is what you need to try to achieve. So try from the equation, try to achieve that. Okay, so how? So you must first always have this impression that in the equation we want to have as little trigo function as possible. So like this equation, you have tangent and secant square got two different trigo function. So is it possible for us to change to one? For example, can I change the tangent to secant? Or can I change the secant square to tangent? So actually you don't have much option. You can only change the secant square x to tangent. Okay, so again, I say, you see, you need to know your formula in order to see what can change to what. So your formula says that tangent square x plus 1 equals to secant square x. So now secant square x is just equals to tangent square x plus 1. So this is tangent x. So actually this is a quadratic equation. So if you cannot see, right, you just let u be equal to tangent x. Okay, then change everything, solve, change back. Remember when you solve, use your basic angle and quadrant to solve it. Okay, so this will be u, this will be 2u square. This will be minus 3. So 2u square plus u minus 3 equals to 0. So u equals to negative 3 over 2, or u equals to 1. So tangent x equals to negative 3 over 2, or tangent x equals to 1. Okay, remember to take note of the range of x. So now we find basic angle. So basic angle for this will be tangent inverse 3 over 2. Okay, remember do not put the negative inside. And we are working in radian. So this is equals to 0.98279. You must know that this is a special angle. So tangent inverse 1 will give me pi over 4. Okay, then for this one, which quadrant is it in? X is in, because this is negative and this is tangent, so this is in the second and fourth quadrant. Then for this one is positive, so X is in first and third quadrant. Okay, so for this X in second quadrant is just pi minus 0.98279. In the fourth quadrant, it will be 2 pi minus 0.98279. Okay, for this first quadrant, x is just pi over 4. Third quadrant will be pi plus pi over 4. So this is 2.158. This is 5.300. So three significant figure, 2.16, 5.30. Okay, and then this one will be 5 pi over 4. Okay, next. Okay, I think I finished until the easy one. Then we do the rest the next time. Okay, so for this kind of question, you cannot use calculator. So what you need to do, you need to draw your triangle. So sine A equal to 7 over 25 means the opposite is 7. This is 25, this is my A. So use Pythagoras, find this. Next, you have another triangle also. This is B. Cosine is 12 adjacent over hypotenuse. Then go and find out this one. Okay, next, you must decide which quadrant are they in, okay? So sine A is negative, means A is in third and fourth. Cosine B is positive, means cosine B is in first and fourth. So because they say they are in the same quadrant, so the only possible scenario is both A and B in fourth quadrant. Okay, so Pythagoras theorem will tell you that this will be 24, and this will be 5. Okay, so part A, to find cotangent A. Cotangent A is just 1 over tangent A. Then tangent A is just opposite over adjacent. You must take note that A is in the fourth quadrant, so tangent fourth quadrant will be a negative value. Okay, so remember to put in the negative. So this is the reason why the quadrant is there. The quadrant is for you to put in the negative or to put in the negative. If you do quadrant and then you realize that you never really use that, then a bit stupid, what? Oh. Okay, part B. Cosine A minus B. We just use your addition formula. Cos plus sine. Okay, then put in. Remember to put your negative or positive inside. You need to put correctly. Which one positive, which one negative. Don't just blindly put. Remember, A and B are in the fourth quadrant. Okay, so you put inside your cosine A, it will be adjacent over hypotenuse. It will be positive because it's in the fourth quadrant. Then this will be 12 over 13. But this will be minus because it's in the fourth quadrant. So we should have 371 over 325. The answer should be 323 or not. Okay, the answer should be 323 over 325. Okay, so last kind of question that you will be seeing is your graph lah. So these are very typical question sets that you will see. I'm just picking out those more common one for you. So there are also non-routine questions that will come out, but these are the very, very routine one that you will need to know what to do. Okay, so when I will draw graph, first thing first, of course we need to take note of this. Okay, but every time when I draw graph, what's the first thing that I want to know? Because I will give you a very nice plan B if you don't know how to draw. First thing first, you must know what to mark out on your horizontal axis. And how do you know what to mark out on your horizontal axis? It comes from this 3x. Okay, this 3x tells me that I would have 3 cycles in 360 degree. Okay, so one cycle, which is your period, one cycle will complete in 120 degree. Okay, you must know that in Trigo, one cycle has 4 quadrants. So one quadrant will be 120 divided by 4. So each quadrant is 30 degree. So now I'm going to put quadrant into my axis. So every interval of 30 degree. So 30, 60, 90, 120, 150, 180. You stop at 180. Why? Because here until 180 only. Okay, what? Then we now start to draw the graph now. I start drawing 2 cosine 3 over 2 first. So how do I draw my cosine? I know that this is just a sketch. This is not the actual thing. So how to draw 2 cosine is, we know that cosine always start from where? We start from 2, because we know the maximum is 2, the minimum is minus 2. Okay, so for cosine graph, where do we start with? We always start from the top. After that, it will go to 0, then it will go to the smallest, then go back 0, then go back 2, then go back. So this is the sequence of your cosine graph. So it will look something like that. That is your 2 cosine 3x graph. After that, I want to draw 2 cosine 3x minus 1, means all your coordinate will subtract 1. This is what the minus 1 means. So this point now will become 1. This point will become negative 1. This point will become negative 3. This point will become negative 1. This point will become this. This point will become this. This point will become this. Then that is your final graph. If you don't know how to draw your graph, what I tell you, you just plot. But that's why I need you to know your 30 degree, start from 0, sorry. I need you to know your 0 degree, 30 degree, 60 degree, 90 degree, 120 degree, and 150 degree, and 180 degree. So today, if you put the 0 degree into the x, you will get 1. So you can see you start at 1. You put 30 degree inside, you get negative 1. That's why it's here, negative 1. Then you put 60, you get negative 3, negative 1, 1, negative 1. So you plot this point, then you put into the graph, then you connect them, you get your graph. Okay?